this. We start with something called ELPA, which is a thought for the day basically, and a fun-based, a value-based game, and then math tutoring and a coding program. So, for any job or anything you apply, what do you need? Two things: qualification and experience. But our Swami needs an S, a commitment. That is all. So, group of 12 to 15 volunteers. We met every Thursday for planning and for preparing for the Saturday tutoring. So the whole process was such a fun and a learning experience for all of us, and also something, we learned each other on the way to bond with the kids. When the end of the 10 weeks, the kids were like, it was so difficult for us to say that, oh, for the next 1.5 months we won't see you. So what happens, we had yesterday a fun graduation day, which was, one of our members came up with on Thursday this idea, and it was, the kids enjoyed it thoroughly, the math and coding based games. And we have always a field trip planned at the end of the day, at the end of the 10 weeks. So we are, with Swami's immense grace, again we have an opportunity in January, and which would be from January 18th or 25th. It's not clear when it is, but we would like to share that joy with all of you. So we welcome all our brothers and sisters, so please come and join this seva. And it is going to be the same. All we ask is for not a qualification or an experience. Swami asked for an S and a commitment to come and for the Thursday meeting and to enjoy with the kids and learn from each other. Sairam. And if you have any questions, if you cannot resist to join, now I can have any questions. After the devotional program, you can contact Harsha Gopalkrishnan or me or Madhu. Sairam to all of you. Thank you.
You like to invite Asha to invite the guest speaker.
Sairam, everybody, and a very happy Ladies' Day to all our dear sisters here. I've heard that Swami has a very mischievous sense of humor, and today I'm experiencing it because he's asking me to introduce two couples that need no introduction. And it's my honor, and I'm going to follow this duty, so please bear with me if I read. I'm very nervous. Our guest of honor today is our dear sister Geeta Ram and her husband Mohan Ram. We lovingly invite them to our center. Geeta needs no introduction, but as I said, I will read this too. Geeta comes from a family of devotees that has been in Swami's service for more than 6 decades. Her granduncle, Sheshagiri Rao, was Swami's personal attendant for more than 20 years. He was also the first priest at Prashanti Nilayam when it was built in 1950. He came to Swami in 1943. I'm bad with my dates. Her father, Dr. Padmanabhan, a renowned dental surgeon, was very dear to Swami and served him with various organizational capacities in Whitefield, Bangalore, till 2008. Many of you may have recognized him as a person who is walking behind Swami in Whitefield. Geeta's mother, Kamla Padmanabhan, was appointed by Swami to be the SSC coordinator for Karnataka State in India, which she served with distinction for 25 years. She was specially chosen by Swami to be the part of the original group that developed the first SSC Bal Vikas curriculum under the direction of Bhagwan himself. Geeta's family was one of the 9 families that started the first Akhand Bhajan in 1945 under Swami's direct guidance. They conducted this for the first 25 years until Swami declared that it was a global event. Geeta, who was named by Swami, has had an incredible fortune of enjoying and experiencing the multifaceted personalities of our Divine Lord from birth. While Swami graced their home in Bangalore with his presence regularly, all her holidays and festivals were spent with him in Puttaparthi. How lucky. At the tender age of 15, Geeta was selected by Swami to be SSC teacher and in addition delivered lectures at the EHV Education in Human Value program to high school teachers throughout the state of Karnataka, India. In 1978, her marriage to Mohan Ram was performed in the divine presence of Swami in Whitefield. Their 2 sons, Varun and Arun, were born in 1981 and named by Swami. 7 years later, Swami directed the family to go to USA and they settled in Maryland, Washington, D.C., where Mohan worked in NASA satellite operations. Geeta taught kindergarten children in a private school for 17 years and was awarded the best teacher for the 5 years in a row. At Swami's command and with his blessing, Geeta has been sharing her most intimate and wonderful experiences of her beloved Lord in different parts of the world, including USA, UK, Canada, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, South Africa, Australia, Mauritius, and India for the past 20 years. In November of 2005, on occasion of Ladies' Day, during Swami's 80th birthday celebration, she was chosen by Swami to address the distinguished gathering in his divine presence at Prashanti Nilayam. And without much delay, I'm going to request our dear sister to please come.
मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव त्वमेव सर्वं मम सायमेव. With my humble pranams at the lotus feet of our ever-present beloved Swami, Sairam to all of you, sisters, brothers, and all of our fellow members on this journey together, trying to reach Swami. Sairam to all of you. Thank you for having me here at your Ladies' Day celebrations. It is always very nice to be with fellow Sai devotees. Even when we don't know them, we know them. Because we feel one with each other because of our devotion to Swami. So it's very nice to be here. Of course, it's very nice to see some familiar faces that I've known for a long time. I have visited this area a couple of times. It's nice to see our very own Balavika student from Bangalore, Sanjana, who is now a part of your center, I believe, and wonderful to see many of you all. I know your President Arun, since he was an engineering student a long time ago in Bangalore. So I have quite a connection with this center. So thank you for having me here today. It's also nice to have a continued Ladies' Day celebration right into December. And I hope the men will continue to do so for the rest of the year, the coming year. You know, the Ladies' Day that Swami started, I suppose, was as a reminder to all of us, especially the women, because I know a lot of jokes are made about the men becoming conscious and aware of the women and the needs and their strengths. But I think, honestly, that Swami started the celebrating of Women's Day to become, for the women to become aware of their own strength. It is more important for us to know what we can do, because when a woman moves something, she can move the whole family, her friends, her community along with her, because of her strength and conviction that is within her. And that Swami, I think, wanted us to be aware of. We all know that many times in many families, the woman becomes a devotee, whether it is of Swami or of a spiritual leaning. The whole family then slowly starts to do what the woman does because she stands as an example. I'm sure many of the men will say it was my mother who first brought me to Swami, or my wife who came and read a book, gave me a book to read about Swami. I know many times when I go for my talks, a lot of the men say, if it wasn't for my mother or my sister or my mother, I wouldn't have been a part of this center. So women have that innate strength and the need to be a spiritual person. It's within the women. It doesn't matter where we are from. So today when I was driving over here, Swami, I think you've all heard me sometimes, one time or the other. Swami has always told me, don't prepare anything. Just go and be a little tape recorder over there, and when I turn it on, the tape recorder works, and when I turn it off, you stop. So I have this very non-envious position of coming somewhere to speak for, today it's 45 minutes, Arun told me, but sometimes in the regional retreats, it's 4 talks of 1.5 hours each, and I still don't know what I'm going to be saying in these 4 talks, which are 1.5 hours, because Swami has told me not to prepare for it. So I have this unenvious position of coming here trying to not think about anything because I want Swami to be the one who thinks and talks through me. Because he said that I know exactly what the people in the audience want to hear. So I will just let you say, and then when I know that everybody is getting really bored of you, I will stop you. So I have been trying to do that, but it does require a lot of what shall I say, faith and confidence that Swami will come through for me. Because what if I come here totally unprepared, and this is this center particularly or any other place, we have such wonderful Sai devotees who do so much work for Swami through their seva, through their balavikas and so many other avenues, and I come and stand there and I don't know what I'm going to say. So I have to have always the faith that Swami is ever present, which is why I always start off with my particular prayer of Mukam Karoti Vachalam. This was a prayer taught to me by Swami when I was a little girl. He used to visit our home, and when I was quite young, suddenly he would call me and ask me to speak to our own family members who were sitting there sometimes, or would pick on me to answer something that he would ask a question of. And I would always say, I don't know, I don't want to speak. And he taught me this particular prayer of Mukam. It's a beautiful dhyana sloka in the Bhagavad Gita actually. Mukam Karoti Vachalam means, with his grace, a dumb person can become eloquent. Mukam Karoti Vachalam. Panghum Langhayate Girim. A lame person can climb a mountain. Yat Krupa Tamaham Vande. With your Krupa, your grace. Yat Krupa Tamaham Vande Paramanandam. With your grace, O Lord, a dumb person can become eloquent. A lame person can climb a mountain. And he said, that's all you have to do. You have to pray for his grace, and then you can achieve anything that you want in your life. So with that prayer, I usually start. Today I added one more, Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva, because it is Ladies' Day that you are all celebrating. That prayer I'm sure you're all very, very familiar with. You're my mother, you're my father, you're my friend, you're my supreme wealth and knowledge. If you are there, I have everything. So with those two prayers, I'm thinking here standing of all the wonderful women who have impacted my life. First, of course, we will always say it's the mother. My mother just passed away 4 or 5 months ago in July, but she was a big impact on my life because just by watching her, she served as for 25 years as an SSC coordinator in the state of Karnataka. She was the only person who served for so long as the coordinator, because Swami wanted her to set the whole program and process before a new person could continue it. So when it was started in 1971, 1970 in Bangalore, that was where the first Balikas program was started, he asked her to become a coordinator, and she continued for 25 years without change in that position. And Swami, when he asked her to step down because she was quite getting elderly and a new person was giving that position, felicitated her for having served him for so many years. She had a major impact on my life, but that is common for all of us. You know, all our mothers have some impact on our lives. So she was one person who had a great impact on mine. But coming back, coming here, I was thinking of 2 or 3 wonderful Sai devotees who were ladies who impacted my life by just watching them as a child. The first one, or I shouldn't say the first one, or the one that I remember quite a bit, is one lady in Puttaparthi. Her name was Konamma. She served Swami very devotedly for many, many years. She came to Puttaparthi as a widowed lady without much, and in the years of the 50s and 60s, women, especially a widow, was not given much importance or much of a place in society of those days in India, unfortunately. She came with nothing to Puttaparthi, and Swami gave her a place to stay. And it is not the Puttaparthi that you see now, where there are the facilities. Even the people who have no rooms at least had the sheds with the bathroom, the water. This was the Puttaparthi where she had to sleep on the sand under the trees, draw water from the well, even for Swami's bath and other things from the well. So when she came, Swami gave her place. And he said that if you want to stay here, you have to do some work. She was not very old at that time, probably in her late 50s or mid 50s. You have to do some work. You cannot just stay here like that. One would look at her from our idea of education and knowledge and think of her as an illiterate village woman who knew nothing. She hadn't gone to school, she didn't read or write, she hadn't read the Ramayana, Mahabharata or any other spiritual scripture, but she knew a little bit of them because growing up in India, everybody learns about it. But all of us would look at her as somebody who was probably ignorant in the ways of the world. But to me, I felt that she was one of the most brilliant women because she had recognized Swami as Bhagavan, as the Lord. And when Swami said, you have to do some work for me, the work that she asked for was, Swami, when you finish eating, I would like to wash the dishes. And Swami said, all right. That is all you want to do? I only eat 3 times a day. Swami, I would like to draw the water and boil the water for your bath. No problem. You can boil the water for my bath, because the Swami's bath water used to be boiled in a huge cauldron. And Swami, I would like to sweep and mop your room. So this took care of her whole day, where she spent every moment with her beloved Lord. She got the water ready for his bath. When it was over and Swami went out for darshan, she would clean his room and sweep and mop, and she would be ready outside the room waiting for him to come out, so she would be the first one to have his darshan. As soon as his food was taken, she would be standing outside his room, because as soon as Swami was fed, the first person that Swami would call was, Konamma, Bhojanam ayindi, I finished my lunch. So she would be the person pouring water so he could wash his hands and taking his plate and eating the prasad that was there in the dishes in which he had eaten. So she was there. You must have all heard the story of Hanuman saying, I want to be behind you, snapping your fingers when you yawn. In competition with Lakshmana and Bharata and Shatrughna. So this was our Konamma. She was poor, she was illiterate, she had no money. Swami used to give her 2 saris every year, one for Navratri and one for Dasara. That was her possession. 2 saris that Swami gave her. Sometimes she would sell peanuts outside the ashram, and the few pennies that she got, paise that she got, would take care of her personal needs. And we used to watch her, and we didn't think much of her. Because she wasn't a part of our study circle group, shall we say. Years went by, I saw her, and maybe I was about 10 or 11 years old, and my parents and all of us, we had gone to Puttaparthi. We used to go on the weekends. The roads were poor, they were bad. It would take us hours to get there. We were there in Prashanthi Nilayam, and Swami came out in the morning. He used to come out at all. There was no particular specific time for darshan in those days. He would come out whenever he wanted to come out. And he came out and he was just talking to a few people, and he suddenly called my father and he said, Padmanabh, Konamma is not feeling well. I want you to take her to Bangalore immediately to the doctor. There was no hospital there. There was that small little general hospital which didn't have a lot of facilities. So my father said, I will take her, Swami. He said, you leave immediately, she needs to go. And he said that my mother and my brother were there too. He said, Kamalamma, that is my mother, and my brother could take the bus, the train and the bus back to Bangalore, because Konamma is quite sick, she can lay down in the back seat. Geeta, I was a small girl, 10 years or 11 years old, she can just come in the car with you. So we got ready and we had to go. Konamma lived in a small little room, and my father my mother went and talked to her and said, Konamma, she seemed to be in a lot of pain. And we said, Swami has asked to take you to Bangalore. And she was crying and saying, I'm not going to any Bangalore. I want to die here in Puttaparthi. I do not want to come to Bangalore and all those things. And we said, we can't do anything about it. Swami has asked you to come. I still have this tremendous memory of all of us trying to convince her and then trying to get her ready in the next hour or so to leave Prashanthi Nilayam by about 10:30, by which time Swami had finished his darshan, Swami had finished his morning darshan with the people, and the bhajans were over. Then suddenly, I remember Swami coming down the staircase. We had access to all of the places where Swami was in the room and the interview room, and there was no particular very specific restriction on us. There were very few people in those days in Puttaparthi. So suddenly I could see Swami came down with a black bag. Excuse me. Black bag. And with this bag, don't worry, I do have water here, but I will not, they've kept it for me, thank you. I don't usually drink water. Thank you though. So he came down with the black bag and walked out and said, I will come with you all too. So here was Swami with a little black bag with his clothes packed, the big variety of clothes that he had, all orange in color. And he came to the car, and when Swami and my father got into the front seat, and myself and Konama, it was a small little standard Super 10 car that my father owned, sat in the back. And she was loaded into the car with her head down, and Swami kept saying, just lie down, just lie down. And she seemed to be in excruciating pain. And we started our journey towards Bangalore. And this was a tough journey, you know, the 22 kilometers to Penakonda or so was not really a road, it was a bullock cart track. So the car would go up and down, and it would go up and down and get stuck. And there were little tiny creeks running in between, and the car would get stuck. And my father was driving, and Swami was there, and we started to go. And every time the car kind of moved with a jerk, I could see that she was in a lot of pain, trying to control it so that Swami would not be disturbed. This lady was there. And as we were going, the car got stuck in one of the little creeks. The mud was very wet. And you know, usually my brother, mother, we would all be there to push the car. I was a young girl, and there was only Swami. So my father got out of the car and was trying, and Swami said, no, Padmanabh, you sit down. How can you push and drive at the same time? So Swami gets out of the car, lifts his robe, and my father is saying, no, and I'm saying, Swami, I can push. And of course, we are saying all this to this Govardhana Giridhari. He got out of the car and with one finger pushed the car and the car is out of the car. Wow. So he got in again. We went a few more miles, one more stuck. This was a very common event for us. Once or twice it happened. The third time, we good devotees, when the Lord responds to us twice, the third time we won't even ask. We expect Him to do it anyway. So the third time when the car was stuck, we just looked at him, so why are you still sitting in here? I'm just saying that how as devotees, we take Him for granted. We take Him for granted. Anyway, after all of this journey of coming to Penakonda, Swami and poor Konama in a lot of pain, Swami had left without lunch, for which my father was feeling very bad. Normally, when we left Puttaparthi with Swami, many times he would travel with us. We would carry lunch, we would stop under a banyan tree, everybody would have a picnic with Swami, and then we would go. But this time there was no mother or brother or anybody. And my father stopped the car and asked him, Perikonda, because that was the only stop then. And he said, Swami, do you want to have at least a cup of coffee? We had left with nothing because we had left in a hurry. And parked the car, I remember, and went to the bus station in Penakonda, got a cup of coffee for Swami in one of those glasses, you know, that they used to give. And Swami would sat there, and my father would make sure that Swami's hair was covered with a scarf. Because in those days there were not many devotees in Penakonda. If they saw Swami, they would throw stones at the car. So we wanted to protect Swami at all times. So his hair was covered, because his hair would be given away. You know, they could see it through the rear window. So my father tied a scarf around Swami's head and went over there and got some coffee. And then we went. And by the time we reached Bangalore, it was almost like 6:30 or 7. We had left at 10 o'clock in the morning. Please remember, it's only a 100-mile drive. It had taken us almost 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the evening. And when we reached the outskirts of Bangalore, Swami said, let us go to Kalappa Nursing Home. And Kalappa Nursing Home was at the end of the street of quite a famous road known as Double Road in Bangalore, in the small Bangalore city of that time. So we went there, and as we went there, poor Kalappa, who had his house at the back and the nursing home was in the front, it was a private nursing home, he was a very well-known surgeon in Bangalore. We drove there, and his house was in the back, and he used to come to Swami once in a while to Vrindavan. And you can imagine his surprise, there is a knock and the doorbell rings, and he opens the door, and there is Swami and my father standing on his door step. And he's taken aback. He was a Kurki doctor. He spoke Kannada. And he asked, Swami, please come in. Swami said, no, I have no time to come in. I have a patient in Padmanabh's car. Please take a look at her. So the stretcher was brought in. She was taken. He examined her. And he came back and he said, Swami, she has a burst appendix and I don't even know how she has survived the journey from 10 in the morning till 7 p.m. at night. But you have brought her, she needs surgery immediately, but my anesthesiologist is not here, I have to get him. And Swami laughingly said, it's Saturday evening, your anesthesiologist is in the club, and even if you found him, you wouldn't find him in a state when he could come and administer anesthesia. So this poor man, yes, so the poor man looked at Swami and he said, I have to give her anesthesia if I have to do the surgery. And Swami said, don't worry, Kalappa, and materialized some vibhuti, put it on Konamma's head and in her mouth, and said, Konamma, go to sleep. You can imagine the stress of this poor doctor having to do surgery on this woman who he hopes will sleep through his surgery. The surgery went well, finished. Swami Kalappa came out. But the most beautiful memory I have is of Swami sitting in the waiting room of Kalappa nursing home on a hard bench in the cold of the evening. He hasn't had lunch, he hasn't had dinner, waiting for Konamma's surgery to get over. My father was, Swami, let us go, Kalappa will take care, the nurses are there. No, but you know, when Konamma wakes up, she's a village woman. If she wakes up to the surgery lights, the drip and the IV lines, she will feel absolutely scared because she has nobody here that she knows except me. I have to wait. So he sat for an hour and a half, and finally when Kalappa comes, he says, Kalappa, is the surgery over? Yes, Swami, she's still sleeping. Swami goes inside where she has been brought to the recovery room, taps her on her cheek and, Konamma, leyi, enta nidra potunnave? How much sleep do you need, Konamma? Wake up! And she opens her eyes. She's scared. She sees the hospital environment. She sees the doctor with his scrubs on, with his mask. Swami, she says. Why are you scared? I'm right here. Don't worry. You're okay now. By that time she realizes she doesn't have any more pain. You go to sleep. I'm going to Padmanabh's house. I'll come tomorrow morning. Go to sleep now and rest. You'll be fine. And imagine, Swami comes to our house. We had left on Friday evening or Saturday morning to go to Patti. My mother and my brother are not there. My father, the typical male of 1930s, just knew where the kitchen in his house was by the plan that he had built in his house. I don't think he ever came into the kitchen and did anything. As a child, I had never seen my father enter the kitchen. So my father, me, and Swami enter my parents' home, and my father is in a completely rattled because there's no food. It's 10:30 in the night. They have brought Swami home, and he does not know how to cook. And I was a young child, and he said, Swami, and all the restaurants, 1 or 2 hotels, the restaurants that are open are all closed at 10 o'clock. Swami, I'll go and see if anything is open. I'll go and get some restaurant. Why? I can make rice, but now you don't know how to make rice. So here is Swami in my mother's kitchen making rice and what we call in Kannada medasaru, pepper rasam, made with rasam water and pepper and jeera, and it's a very quick concoction that's made very fast. Swami makes this rasam and says, it's very good, do you want to eat it? Because I'm eating it. So my father and myself and Swami, we eat rice and rasam. Of course there is yogurt and Swami doesn't eat it. He finishes it and rests in our house. And the following morning, by the time it's early morning, my mother arrives from Prasanthi Nilayam after that long journey of hers through train and bus and everything. She's there in the morning. He makes some coffee and Swami is up at 6 o'clock and says, Padmanabh, shall we go to Kalappa nursing home to give Konamma her coffee? You think about it. What a woman she must have been. What must have been her devotion? What must have been her faith? What must have been her dedication to do the seva that the Lord had given her? Because as a child I had seen that there was not a single day when she wasn't up at 3:30 in the morning boiling the water for Swami's bath at 5 o'clock in the morning. There was not a single day when she was not there ready outside his room to take his plate and wash it. There was not a single day when she had not mopped and swept his room since the day she came to Prashanti Nilayam. For almost 20 years or 15, 18 years she did this without missing a single day, a single moment. She had become old, and Swami, with his infinite love, because she had no one, became her son for those few moments. So that is the strength of a devotion of a woman who can move the Lord to drive with her over 100 miles of rocks and stone without lunch, without dinner, to come and help her. Why did he not cure her in Puttaparthi? I'm sure many of you may be asking. If he can push the car with one finger, and if he can give her vibhuti as anesthesia, why didn't he just give her vibhuti in Prashanti Nilayam and let her go? That was the question that I had. He said no, she had to go through whatever she needed to go through, but I was there holding her hand while she went through it. So that is the Lord. So this was one woman who impacted my life in a very strange way. I wanted to become that Ponamma, to whom he would spend all his whole day just to get her to Kalappa nursing home, sit on a wooden bench so that she wouldn't be scared when she opened her eyes. I wanted to become that Ponamma. So that was one woman whose example of devotion and dedication that really impacted my life. There was another lady, the complete opposite of Ponamma. She came from one of the wealthiest families in Bangalore. She hosted Swami many times to stay in her home. They were very wealthy, and whenever Swami came, her home was decorated like a palace. It was a beautiful, big mansion. And it was decorated, and Swami was looked after like the Lord should be looked after, maybe we think. With every possible facility, every possible thing, people going there for darshan, and Swami would sit in the hall and he would give discourses. This was a wonderful home that welcomed all of the devotees. And she came from a very, very wealthy family. And I would always look at her as a child again. Many times, Swami would spend a few days with her and then spend some few days with my aunt and came and stayed in my aunt's house, who was not wealthy at all, but came and stayed in my aunt's house because he had so much of love and grace for her. Now this lady looked after Swami beautifully, and I always thought, oh, how fortunate she is. As a child, we would all be so wonderful. She looks after Swami so well. All the fruits are there. Everything was taken care of. Years went by. Her husband passed away. She had, I think, a couple of sons or something like that. And as the years went by, the sons moved away to different places. They shut down the mansion and moved the mother to the servant quarters in the back of the house. This is what life does sometimes. We have the most beautiful mansion one day, and the next day we may have nothing. That was a lesson in itself too, actually, for me, seeing her. She had a stroke and she couldn't walk anymore. She was wheelchair bound. And many times my father would pick her up and take her to Vrindavan to have Swami's darshan. This lady who had entertained Swami for years, hosted him for years, looked after him for years, was now in a servant quarter at the back of her own house. She couldn't afford to go to Vrindavan. So if some good devotee said, let's take her poor thing, and had the patience to load her into the car because she had a stroke and took her to Vrindavan, she would come and have darshan. For some time she would come in a taxi, sometimes she wouldn't, but my father would take her sometimes. And wherever she sat in Vrindavan in her wheelchair, Swami would go to her, bless her, give her vibhuti, talk to her, and send her home. And a few years went by like that. At least she could come to Vrindavan. But after that, she was getting even more frail and older, and she couldn't even come to Vrindavan anymore. One particular day, on a Sunday, Swami had told us on Friday that he was going to come to my parents' house for dinner. He used to come almost once a month to my parents' place. So that particular Sunday, he had told my father, this Sunday I will come. And I had the good fortune of traveling with Swami back and forth in the car, usually wherever we went as a kid. So I had gone as well. And Swami finished his Vrindavan darshan. And this is the old Vrindavan where, under the tree that Swami used to walk around, not even the Sairam hall tree that you had, but there used to be a whole line of trees, and Swami would walk down the path from the gates, from his bungalow gates to the main gates. Anyway, it was one of those days, and we got ready, and Swami came and sat in the car after darshan and bhajan, and he sat down, and I was in the front seat. Swami would sit in the back seat, and we started to drive, and suddenly he said, Padmana, let us go to this lady's house on the way. Now my father was terrible. I mean, those were not the days of GPS. I'm sure my father would have confused the heck out of GPS too. He was so bad. He just knew where he was supposed to go. If you took him once and he knew the road, that was the road he knew. So Swami said, let's go to this lady's house. And my father was, okay, I don't know if I'll find this lady's house at 6 o'clock in the evening. It was it was not a Sunday that time, it was a Thursday. Thursday bhajan had been over in Vrindavan. And Swami said, don't worry Padmanabh, I know the house, I will take you. So Swami said, he was our navigator. He came to this house, this beautiful house I remember as a child that used to be lit up. It was always Christmas when Swami was there. The lights were there. There used to be guards at the gate, and it was a beautiful home with a very big circular driveway. And as we went in, there was nobody now. There are no guards to open the gate. There is nothing. So I got out and opened these huge gates, and took me some trouble to open the gates. And when you drove into the circular driveway, the whole house was pitch dark. And there were just leaves everywhere. You could see that the house had not been maintained. There was nobody there. And as we drove around, my father said, Swami, she doesn't live in this house anymore, because Swami had not come to this house for many years now. So Swami said, I know, she's in the back. So the car was parked in the portico, in the pitch dark portico, I remember, and it had rained the previous day in Bangalore. So all these huge trees had shed leaves, and the whole place was covered with these wet leaves. And Swami got out of the car and pulled his robe up and said, come, let's go to the back. And we walked to the back of the house. And the servant quarters was a little away from the house. And Swami walked to the back of the house. And there was one little light hanging on the portico of that house. And we went in, and Swami knocked on the door, and the nurse who used to take care of her, there was a nurse, I think the sons had put a nurse to take care of her. Then she got the shock of her life when she saw Swami. And Swami said, no, what is she doing? He said, she's just sitting, I've just made her sit up, Swami. Today is Thursday, she's about to do bhajan. Can you imagine? Even this lady who couldn't sing anymore, she used to sing very well before, but couldn't sing much anymore, sitting up because it was Thursday. Swami walked in, and my father and I walked in there. She's a small little room with a single bed against the wall, and she was just kind of leaned up against the wall. And Swami went and sat on her bed and said, how are you doing? With so much joy, and as though he had just seen her yesterday. How are you doing? I haven't seen you in a long time. How are you? And she is looking really surprised, elated, joyful, and crying all at the same time. Because here is this Lord, she is about to do bhajan to that tiny little picture on a little desk. And here he is. And he said, what were you about to do? You were going to do bhajan Thursday? She said, she nodded her head. She couldn't speak very well. She was slurring because of the stroke. And he said, oh, I will do bhajan with you today, he said. And there sat Swami and said, let's light the lamps, because there were two little lamps in in front of Swami's picture, let's light the lamps. And the nurse goes near the photo and she's fidgeting around, and Swami nods his head at me. So I go behind her, and brothers and sisters, this wealthy lady who used to feed hundreds of people who came to see Swami didn't have oil to light her lamp. So that poor nurse didn't know what to do. She was just fidgeting around. Swami said, light the lamps. And Swami is such, this is how we must do seva, I suppose. Swami looked at me, and there was a glass of water that she had kept. Swami came over to the picture, and he told me, get some water, he said. So there was a little cup over there, a little silver glass in front of Swami's picture. I filled it with water from everything was in one room, her faucet, her kitchen, everything. I filled it, and this nurse was still moving around, not saying that she doesn't have oil. This old lady did not know that there was no oil. And Swami just put his finger and stirred it and said, Poi auntie chupo. He gave it to me. He just stirred his finger into the cup and said, go and light the lamps. This was water in this cup. I took it and I poured it into the lamp. Swami came, took the matchbox and lit it. You have all been watching Mere Sai and Shirdi Sai and all of that. There was our Sai. In one split second, stirring the water with his finger, lit the lamp. Bhajan chestam kuchu. As though it was the most ordinary thing. With his back to this lady, so that she did not see that she did not have oil to light those lamps and embarrass her in any way. He just had his back to her so that she wouldn't know. He lit the lamps, he sang a couple of bhajans, everybody followed, the three of us that was there. Sat for 2 more minutes, gave her materialized some vibhuti, put it on her, and said to her, hope bartini, innonsari bartini, I'll come back again. And she said, Swami, I have nothing to give you. So Swami said, why should you give me anything? Is it not my duty to give you now? I have taken from you for years. Is it not my duty to give you now? Why should you give me anything? You have given me your heart. That's all I need. Blessed her, left her house, and drove to our home for dinner. As though it was the most simple event that had happened, which has stayed with me all my life. Stayed with me all my life. This lady, who had served so many people, was served by the Lord Himself when she needed it. So when we do seva also, as Swami says, not do it in a way that would embarrass the person, makes them feel little, makes them feel small. Why am I in this position today that I have to take from a stranger or even a known person? Don't make them do it in such a subtle way that they don't even know that they have been served. Do it in such a loving and beautiful, joyful way that they feel they are a part of that joy. That is what I heard, that this lady impacted my life. What is her devotion? What must have been her attitude when she served the Lord, or all of the people that she served who came with the Lord? She impacted my life. I think I have 10 more minutes. So I have to tell you about one more person. In the old Puttaparthi days, there was nothing there. I'm sure all of you have been to Puttaparthi. Puttaparthi in my days, my childhood days, was a stone age village. There was nothing there. There was one little shop where mostly nothing was available. If you needed anything, you had to go to Penakonda or Bukkapatnam. You had to cross the river and go. It was a long journey to reach there, even just from Bangalore. But we used to go there for all of the festivals. And in those days, honestly, there were only 4 festivals that Swami did. It was Navaratri, the Dasara festival, Shivaratri, Swami's birthday, and Guru Purnima. All of the other festivals have come much later in the years. So we used to go for those. But we used to go on at other times when school holidays happened or weekends happened. Well, hardly anybody. We were just a few people, few families going. And there used to be one gentleman, very nice man, who used to come from Hyderabad. The husband and wife, he was a retired person. We were all youngsters. And his job was to go into the village and basically bring milk for all of the devotees staying inside the ashram because there was nothing available. So he would bring milk because we were all young children. The children would need milk. All our South Indian uncles and aunties needed coffee. Nobody could start the day with love was not the slogan. Start the day with coffee was more like it. So he used to bring the coffee for all of, bring the milk for all of us. And he used to walk into the village early in the morning when these people would bring milk in little earthen pots, and he would come to each family the previous night and ask how much milk do you want. He was just a self-made sevadar. Nobody had asked him to do this, but he just did it because he wanted to help everyone. He was actually a chief engineer who had retired and he had come there to Puttaparthi. He would also come like us with his wife, stay a little bit longer than us probably because he was retired. Our parents, my father and all were still working. He would come and ask, hey mama, he would come and ask, how much milk do you want? Everybody would tell him something and he would go. And the following early morning, 4 o'clock, he would pick up the milk and bring it to everybody's room at 4:30 in the morning. Because everybody had to be ready before Swami was up and about. So we all got used to waking up very early because there was no running water or anything. We had to walk down that Chitravati road, if you are all familiar, that road that leads towards Chitravati. Now they have all these fancy shops. There were no shops then. There were little cubicles made out of these, these coconut palm leaves were all kind of braided together and the walls were made and there were little cubicles. The top was these coconut leaves and the walls were coconut leaves, and there used to be a big hande, as we used to call it, huge cauldron where these village people would boil the water. So we would pay some 10 paisa or something like that for a bucket of hot water. You had to go there and there was no door or anything. So you had to take your sari or your bed sheet or something and hang it in front and take your bath behind this. So you had to put it. So they would give you hot water, but they would not give you cold water. Because the cold water has to be brought from the river or from the well, and it was a lot of work. So they would give you boiling hot, and they would keep boiling the water, and they would give you boiling hot water which you couldn't bathe in. And you would say, give me cold water, they'll say, no, sit down and wait. So you had to sit there watching the water cool down. This one bucket of water. And so, because you had to wait for it to cool down, you had to go at 3:30 in the morning, because Swami would come out at 5:30. So we would go there sitting there waiting with our bed sheet and the thing and sitting in there waiting on a black stone basically. So those were our Prashanti Nilayam days. So by the time we finished all our bath and came back, he would bring this milk. So this gentleman, Dasharath Ram Reddy, his name was, and his wife was there. They were a very nice couple, very helpful. So he did this job. His wife was very good at making jasmine garlands. So along with all my aunts, all these ladies would make, and in Puttaparthi, one fantastic thing was you would get beautiful jasmine flowers. So they would buy the flowers and they would make 4 feet garlands. So Swami would be garlanded many times in a day in those days. First thing, as soon as he came down at 5:30 in the morning, one person would garland, or several people, if you had garlands, you could do it. Then after breakfast, garland. Then after darshan, while before aarti, garland. Then when Swami had finished lunch, garland. And then in the evening for bhajan, garland. And finally when he is retiring in the night, they would do an aarti one more time in his room. That time also garland. So all these garlands would be made by these ladies, sitting there with huge piles of jasmine flowers. And this lady, Mrs. Dasharath Ram Reddy, was very good at making these garlands. And all my old aunts would be sitting there with huge piles of garland. In fact, one very funny memory that I have as a child was Swami would come and sit with these ladies and say, teach me how to make these garlands. And making these garlands are a skill because they were not using needles. For the young ladies here who may not know, they tie it with their fingers. Try it at home. You will see it in YouTube, I'm sure. So they would sit there making these beautiful garlands, all different. Mrs. Reddy would make beautiful garlands. The 10 garlands that she made, one would look different from the other. So beautifully she used to make it. Anyway, so she was in high demand when she was there. Make me a garland, make me a garland, make me a garland. So that was what it was. And Swami would come and sit there and say, teach me. And I have an aunt, people would have heard somewhere or the other me telling you about my old aunt for whom the Vibhuti came through the phone and all that. That aunt would say, he would come and sit next to her. She was very elderly and say, teach me how to do it, teach me. And she would say, in this avatar, you will not learn how to do it. Because you pull that string too tight and you will break the stems. And the stems will break and all the flowers will be wasted. So we will not give you. And Swami said, no, teach me. So she will give him one small bowl of flowers, in a little vati. Try with this. And she would tell, in this avatar you will not learn. But he would insist. And he would try. Say, no, I will learn it from you. And then lo and behold, after breaking the 10 stems of 10 flowers, they would look and he would have a 3 feet garland in his hand. All right. This is Sri Sai Krishna. You would have you see, my garland is better than any one of yours. See how quickly I learned. So this was the garland thing, and this lady used to make it. So every day she would, for years and years and years, she made the most beautiful garlands for this Swami. And then suddenly one day Swami decided no more garlands, so the garlands stopped being, as you all know, you see that after a certain point, somewhere in the 70s, Swami said no more, don't waste all the money on the flowers, use it for other things. Whatever the reason, he stopped it. Then her husband passed away and she used to come to Prashanti Nilayam. Crowds started to come, people started to come, and nobody knew who Dasharatha Ramareddy's wife was. She was one of the Buddhis in the Buddhi line that they allow. Coming and sitting somewhere, sitting far away, Swami had stopped the garlands. Her interaction with Swami through the garlands had stopped. She had become an elderly lady, a widowed lady, sitting with many thousands of devotees who were coming. All of the newer devotees didn't know who she was. So she was a lost child in that huge Prashanti. So years went by. Whenever we used to see her, we would say, hello auntie, how are you? And she'd say, Navama, Bhavanama, how are you? Now are you doing well? That's all the conversation. And we also go on with our mundane life. In 2006, I was in Vrindavan. I had gone there for darshan, and from a distance I saw her sitting with the elderly folks on the chair. So after the darshan was over, I went to her, because like I said, I had seen her making the most beautiful garlands, and the Krishna in Vrindavan had been decorated very nicely. So I went to her and said, auntie, you must be feeling very happy to see this Krishna with such beautiful, 2 eyes are not enough to see the garlands, she said, such an artistic lady. And then as she said it, she started to cry. He said, Geeta, do you have few minutes to come to my room? I want to talk to you. I have to share this with somebody who knows me from before. I said, okay, I'll come. I had to get back to Bangalore, but I said, I'll come. I went to her room and she said, I want to tell you something. My heart is so full. I want to share it with someone who knew me before. I said, auntie, tell me what happened. So she said, I was in Prashanti Nilayam. As you know, after uncle passed away, I was living in Prashanti Nilayam. No more garlands. I was sitting somewhere, but the Swami was not talking to me anymore since 1978 or 80, she said. He had not talked to me at all. But I was sitting there in Prashanti Nilayam, enjoying the glory of the Lord. Sai Gulwant was built, this was built, that was built. But still never saw him or talked to him after that. She said with tears, and I said, yes, auntie, I know many of the old devotees miss him because the crowds have become so much. She said, yes, but you know what happened last month? I said, what happened? She said, I was minding my own business, sitting in my own room, making my garland for my photo in my room. When suddenly, 2 college boys came and knocked on my door and said, are you Mrs. Dasharatha Ramareddy? So I said, yes, what do you want? She says, I have not talked to you. She says, I'm a single woman living here by myself. Nobody comes to my room. Nobody knows who I am. I said, who are you boys? Why are you here? They said, we have come from Vrindavan. Swami has asked us to bring you to Vrindavan. You said, no, boy, Swami has not talked to me in 20 years. You must be mistaken. There must be another Dashrath Ram Reddy in Shanti Bhavan or somewhere, some important lady. You are mistaken. Go and find out. She said, I am not coming anywhere with you. Go. So these poor boys begged her. She didn't go. So these boys came back to Vrindavan, I believe. Swami has sent these two boys and said, in South Prashanti there is one Dashrath Ram Reddy's wife. You go and bring her. These boys came back. Swami said, where is she? The boy said, Swami, this lady said it's not her, maybe somebody else, she didn't come. She said, Swami. Swami said, are you? Why didn't you do as I told you? Both of you boys, go back to Puttaparthi again. So they arrived again that evening. Again they know. He said, why did you come again to my room? I am not the lady you are looking for. Some you boys, you don't know what you people here. I am not an important person. You must be in some other round building or somewhere. Go and. He said, no, Amma, please come. We'll fall at your feet. Swami will throw us out of the college if we don't take you. Please come. So this poor lady, she's telling me with her legs shaking, she put 2 saris in her bag and said, Swami may throw you out of the college, but Swami will throw me out of Prashanti Nilayam for coming with somebody for no reason. I am not the person. I mean, somehow they dragged her to Prashanti, to Vrindavan, and she arrived the next day by morning darshan. She's sitting there, she said, shaking, because Prashanti Nilayam residents are not supposed to leave without permission from Swami. She said, these boys have dragged me here, they don't know who I am, they are asking what. She's sitting there when Swami comes out of darshan and goes straight to her and said, how much trouble are you giving my boys when I asked them to come, asked you to come? She said, after 22 years, he was scolding me, but his words were like amritam. Like nectar to my ears, because after 22 years he was scolding me. I said, Swami, I don't know this. He said, I'm going to Kodaikanal from 3 days from now. I want you to come with me. She said, Swami, how will I come? What shall I do? He said, she has come with 2 saris from Puttaparthi thinking she's going to be put. He said, don't worry, I know. And he sends out one of the Sevadar ladies. He asks her to take her to Bangalore city, buy her a suitcase, buy her every possible sari that she will require for 10 days, got all her shopping done, and she was telling me, oh, I went in the aeroplane with Swami Gita, sitting behind him. I went there, and there in that place, he told everybody of how I used to make my garlands for Swami. He took me and he brought me back. I came back. I couldn't believe it. I said, Swami, you remember my garland? He said, I remember every action of yours, in every lifetime of yours, in the millions of lives that you have taken by the time you came to me. Do you think I will forget you? So she said, it took me 20 years to hear these 9 words. I wanted to share it. What a woman. What a woman, is it not? Isn't this the way to celebrate Ladies' Day? Don't we all want to become, even if we are not a woman, like these wonderful devotees? Thank you for having me here today, Sairam, and I hope these wonderful devotees are inspirations to all of you to become a devotee to whom the Lord waits to see. Sairam.
How beautiful this is. It's beautiful, it's peaceful. Many of us have actually got all the answers. Thank you. Thank you, Auntie. Pranama from me. Sairam to all of you. Sairam. The Konamma and Kalappa play we did here. They are sitting. Yeah, after listening to you, we are just a smart play we had, and they are sitting here. Some Kalappa, Kampala, and so you say so. such nice things. So I got so much inspiration. So I wrote a song for you. Oh. This is the first time. This is Telugu. You can understand. వెంకవదూత వేడగా సాయి అవతరించగా గీతా మధుర భాషనే సాయి మది నింపగా వెంకవదూత వేడగా సాయి అవతరించగా గీతా మధుర భాషనే సాయి మది నింపగా మహిళా దిన సంబరాలు తరలి వచ్చే తరంగాలు ఆనంద లహరిగా సాగిపోవగా గీతా మోహన రాగమైపోగా Because of the prayers of Venkavaduta, Swami came to this world. Because of Geeta Mohan's sharing her experience with all of us, and Sai is dwelling in our hearts again and again. The joy of celebrating Ladies' Day is overflowing like waves of the ocean. The happiness that is flowing everywhere in the tune of Geeta Mohan.
Sairam, Sairam, Sairam Bhajo. 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 Allah Malik Sairam Bhajo. Allah Malik Sairam Bhajo. Buddha Malik Sairam Bhajo. Buddha Malik Sairam Bhajo. Yeshu Pita Prabhu Sairam Bhajo. Yeshu Pita Prabhu Sairam Bhajo. Sairam, Sairam, 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 Sairam Bhajo. Allah Malik Sairam Bhajo. Buddha Malik Sairam Bhajo. Yeshu Pita Prabhu Sairam Bhajo. Sairam, Sairam, Sairam Bhajo. Sairam, Sairam, Sairam Bhajo. जय बोल भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की साई माता की Secret holiness supreme is Baba's vibhuti, pouring forth in brilliant stream, display of vibhuti. So auspicious is His might, it grants me liberation. Baba's vibhuti, its power protects me. Paramam pavitram, Baba vibhutim, paramam vichitram, Leela vibhutim, paramartha ishtartham, moksha pradayam, Baba vibhutim,
Divine guiding principle. Develop self-reliance. Become your own servant before proceeding to serve others. Members of the Sri Satya Sai organizations should do things by themselves. They should not depend on others. You may be very wealthy and have servants and assistants to help in a few tasks, but your own work you must do yourself. If you wish to be of service to society, serve yourself first. One who will not serve society has no right to belong to a Sri Satya Sai organization. Satya Sai Baba.
From untruth, lead us to truth. From the darkness, lead us to the light. From there